The silence in the council chamber felt heavy enough to crush bones. Rachel Foster had experienced many uncomfortable moments in her diplomatic career, but nothing compared to sitting in a room designed to make humans feel small. The seats rose in circular tiers around her, each one occupied by an alien representative who looked down at her with expressions ranging from pity to contempt. 47 different species, and not a single friendly face among them. Chancellor Droxen rose from his elevated platform. The Vareth leader stood nearly 3 meters tall, his crystalline skin refracting the chamber's blue lighting into rainbow patterns across the walls. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 8 centuries of unchallenged authority. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding the human question. He paused, letting the words settle. Your species has demonstrated alarming tendencies toward violence and emotional instability. We cannot allow such behavior to threaten the peace we have maintained for 800 years. Rachel kept her face neutral. She had expected this, but hearing it stated so bluntly still sent anger coursing through her veins. She forced herself to breathe slowly, to remain calm. Showing emotion now would only prove their point. Therefore, Droxen continued, Earth must surrender 60% of its military vessels to Council custody. You will accept permanent monitoring stations in your solar system. Council observers will oversee your governmental decisions to ensure compliance with civilized standards. You have 48 hours to accept these terms. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some species chittered approval. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Rachel noticed the Talran ambassador, a being that resembled a floating jellyfish wrapped in robes, watching her with what might have been concern. "And if we refuse?" Rachel asked, her voice cutting through the noise. Droxen's laugh sounded like shattering glass. "Refuse? My dear primitive creature, you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. This is the Council informing you of reality. Every species in this chamber faced the same choice when they joined us. Submit to peace or face isolation from the galactic community." "Economic sanctions," added Ambassador Yorl, a reptilian being from the Hexus Combine. "No trade, no technology sharing, no protection from hostile forces." "We have never needed to use force," Droxen said, his tone suggesting he found the very concept distasteful. "Civilized beings understand that cooperation benefits everyone. Only barbarians choose conflict over compromise." Rachel stood slowly, every eye in the chamber fixed on her. She could feel their judgment, their certainty that she would cave under pressure like every other young species before her. "I need to transmit this ultimatum to my government," she said. 48 hours, you said." "Precisely 48 standard hours from this moment," Droxen confirmed. He seemed pleased, probably thinking her quick acceptance meant humanity would fold easily. "We expect your surrender terms when you return." Rachel nodded once and walked toward the exit. Behind her, the council members began discussing how to divide Earth's military assets among themselves. They talked about humans like livestock being parceled out to new owners. She heard one delegate suggest taking the newer destroyers while another argued for the orbital defense platforms. The doors sealed behind her with a pneumatic hiss. Rachel allowed herself a moment of weakness, closing her eyes and clenching her fists. Then she straightened her shoulders and headed for the communications suite. The message she composed was simple and direct. She attached the full recording of the council session and marked it as Priority Alpha. Within seconds, the quantum relay transmitted everything back to Earth, to the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, to the people who would decide humanity's future. A soft chime announced someone approaching. Rachel turned to find Ambassador Kelly's, the Talran representative, floating toward her. The being's translucent form pulsed with gentle bioluminescence. "I wanted to speak with you privately," Kelly said, their voice a melodic whisper, "before you leave." "I'm listening," Rachel said. "The Council believes their way is the only path to peace. They have forgotten that peace without freedom is just another form of prison. Kelly's drifted closer. My people accepted their terms 300 years ago. We gave up our weapons, our autonomy, our right to chart our own course. We told ourselves it was for the greater good. Do you regret it? Rachel asked. Every single day. The Talron's lights dimmed. But we were alone, afraid, and they promised safety. You humans are different. I have studied your history. You fight for things you believe in, even when victory seems impossible. The Council sees this as a weakness, but I wonder if it might be your greatest strength. Rachel felt a strange kinship with this alien being. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting nothing, Kelly said carefully. I am simply observing that the Council has never faced a species willing to say no. They have no concept of what that might mean. They assume everyone values comfort over freedom. And you think humans might value freedom more? I think humans might teach the galaxy a lesson it desperately needs to learn. Kelly's began floating away. I will abstain from the final vote, whatever it may be. It is the most resistance I can offer. I hope it will be enough to show you that not everyone in the Council approves of bullying. Rachel watched the Talron ambassador disappear down the corridor. Then she looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth waited for her message. Somewhere, people far smarter and braver than her would decide how to respond to this ultimatum. She found herself hoping they would choose defiance. The galaxy needed to remember that humanity had not crawled up from the mud of Earth by accepting every threat with a smile and a bow. Sometimes the only way to win respect was to make it clear you would rather burn than kneel. The holographic displays filled the Situation Room with pale blue light. Secretary General Liu Chen stood at the head of the table, watching as world leaders materialized one by one in their designated positions. President Morrison appeared first, her face tight with controlled anger. Prime Minister Akafor followed, then Chancellor Schmidt, Premier Volkov, and a dozen others. Within 90 seconds, every permanent member of the Security Council occupied their virtual seats. Thank you all for responding so quickly, Liu said. I assume you have all reviewed Ambassador Foster's transmission. Reviewed it, Morrison's voice dripped with contempt. I have watched it 7 times. Each viewing makes me angrier than the last. The arrogance is breathtaking, Akafor added. They speak to us as if we are children caught misbehaving. General Patricia Hayes entered the room carrying a data tablet. She moved to the display wall and activated a series of tactical projections. Ship designs rotated in 3 dimensions, accompanied by scrolling technical specifications. If we are discussing options, Hayes said, then we need to understand what we face. The Galactic Council maintains what they call an enforcement fleet. 300 vessels spread across their territory, primarily used for customs enforcement and piracy suppression. They have not fought a peer conflict in over 6 centuries. Meaning, Liu asked. Meaning their tactics are theoretical. Their crews train on simulations, not combat experience. Their weapons are advanced, yes, but their doctrine is outdated. Hayes expanded one of the ship models. This is a Varath battlecruiser. Impressive shields, powerful energy weapons, sophisticated sensors. But notice the engine configuration. They are built for endurance cruising, not combat maneuvering. Premier Volkov leaned forward. You are suggesting we could fight them. I am suggesting we would not be the easy victory they assume. Hayes pulled up another display. Earth Defense Force currently operates 412 combat vessels. We are outnumbered by Council species combined, but our ships are newer, faster, and designed by people who remember what war actually means. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implication. Humanity had unified after the contact war of 2157, when corporate mining interests on Mars had sparked a brief but brutal conflict. The lessons learned in vacuum combat had shaped every ship design since then. Human vessels were built to kill and survive, not to impress during peace patrols. This is madness, Chancellor Schmidt said. We are talking about war with an entity that spans hundreds of worlds. Even if we win initial engagements, they will eventually overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Perhaps, said Morrison, or perhaps they lack the stomach for real casualties. Has anyone considered that possibility? They have lived in peace for so long that they may have forgotten what war actually costs. That is a dangerous assumption, Liu warned. Everything about this situation is dangerous, Akafor countered, including compliance. If we surrender our weapons and accept their monitors, we lose any hope of independence. We become a client state, forever subject to their whims. Hayes activated another file. I have been running scenarios with my staff. If we accept the Council's terms, within 10 years they will control our economy, our research, our very culture. They will do it gradually, always with logical reasons, always for our own good. But the end result is the same. We become another compliant species in their collection. And if we fight, Liu asked. Then we bloody their nose hard and fast. We show them that controlling us will cost more than they are willing to pay. Hayes gestured at the tactical displays. Human doctrine emphasizes speed, aggression, and adaptability. We hit them before they understand what is happening. We hurt them badly enough that they reconsider, and we offer peace from a position of strength. Morrison nodded slowly. It is a terrible risk, but submission guarantees our extinction as a free people. At least fighting gives us a chance. My people have a saying, Akafor said. A warrior who kneels once will kneel forever. If we accept this ultimatum, the galaxy will know we can be pushed. Other threats will follow. Liu looked around the table at each leader. He saw fear in some faces, determination in others. But nowhere did he see anyone arguing that the Council's demands were reasonable or acceptable. Then we are in agreement, he asked. We reject the ultimatum. One by one, the leaders voiced their support. The vote was unanimous, though some voices carried more hesitation than others. When the last confirmation came through, Liu took a deep breath. General Hayes, please provide us with your military assessment. If we are going to war, I want to know our chances. Hayes straightened. The Council will likely attempt a blockade first. It is their standard tactic for forcing compliance. They will send a fleet to Earth's outer system and wait for us to crack under pressure. That gives us an advantage. How so? Schmidt asked. Because we will be fighting in our home territory, with prepared defenses, supply lines measured in millions of kilometers instead of light years, and because they will not expect us to attack first. Hayes smiled grimly. The Council thinks war is beneath civilized beings. They will come here expecting to intimidate us with their presence. Instead, they are going to learn what happens when you threaten someone who has already survived ice ages, world wars, and nuclear standoffs. Liu felt the weight of what they were about to do settle on his shoulders. Millions of lives would be affected by this decision. Some of those lives would end in the cold vacuum of space, but the alternative was accepting chains that would never be removed. Prepare the military response, he ordered Hayes, and someone draft a message for Ambassador Foster. When she returns to that council chamber in 48 hours, I want her to deliver words that will echo across the galaxy. Morrison smiled. I think I know exactly what to say. Good, Liu said, because we are about to teach the Galactic Council something they should have learned long ago. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never assume peace means cowardice. And never, ever, threaten humanity unless you are prepared for war. Rachel watched the countdown timer on her personal display. 47 hours and 53 minutes had passed since Chancellor Droxen delivered his ultimatum. In 7 minutes, she would return to the council chamber and deliver Earth's response. Her hands remained steady as she reviewed the message one final time, though her heart hammered against her ribs. The document was short, only 3 paragraphs, but those paragraphs would change everything. A chime announced that the council was ready to receive her. Rachel tucked the message cylinder into her jacket pocket and left her quarters. The walk to the chamber felt longer than usual. Station personnel stepped aside as she passed, their alien faces showing curiosity mixed with contempt. They had no doubt about what her answer would be. No species had ever refused the Council's generous offer of peace. The massive doors opened with a rumble that echoed through the corridor. Rachel stepped into the chamber and felt hundreds of eyes track her movement. The space felt even more oppressive than before. Chancellor Droxen sat in his elevated position, looking pleased with himself. He had already prepared documents for Earth's transition to Council oversight. She could see them on his display screen. Ambassador Foster, Droxen said, his voice carrying false warmth. We are pleased you have returned on time. Have you brought Earth's acceptance of our terms? Rachel walked to the center podium. The chamber's acoustics would carry her words to every corner, to every recording device, to every species watching this moment. She pulled the message cylinder from her pocket and held it up. I have Earth's response to your ultimatum, she said clearly. Would you like me to read it aloud? That would be acceptable, Droxen said. He leaned back in his seat, confident and comfortable. Rachel broke the seal on the cylinder and extracted the single sheet of synthetic paper. She took a breath and began reading. To the Galactic Council from the United Nations of Earth, we have reviewed your ultimatum with great care and consideration. We have consulted with our military leaders, our scientists, our philosophers, and our citizens. After thorough deliberation, we have reached a unanimous decision. She paused. The chamber had gone absolutely silent. Even the usual shuffling and whispering had stopped. Earth rejects your ultimatum in its entirety. We will not surrender our weapons. We will not accept monitoring. We will not submit to oversight by a council that treats sovereign nations as misbehaving children. The chamber erupted. Delegates jumped to their feet. Angry voices filled the air in dozens of languages. Chancellor Droxen's crystalline face shifted through several colors, settling on a deep red that Rachel guessed meant fury. Silence, Droxen roared. The chamber obeyed, though the shock remained visible on every face. Ambassador Foster, you cannot be serious. You cannot possibly think you can defy the entire Galactic Council. I am completely serious, Rachel said, and there is more. She returned her attention to the message, though she had already memorized every word. Furthermore, any attempt by the Council or its member states to enforce this ultimatum through military action, economic sanctions, or any other hostile measure will be considered an act of war against Earth and humanity. We will respond to such acts with every resource at our disposal. We will defend our sovereignty, our freedom, and our right to exist as an independent species. The silence now felt different, heavier, dangerous. Rachel could see some delegates gripping the arms of their seats. Others had activated personal communicators, frantically transmitting reports back to their home governments. The Tauran ambassador floated motionless, their bioluminescence pulsing steadily. This is unacceptable, Droxen sputtered. You are threatening the Council. You, a species barely capable of interstellar travel, dare to threaten civilizations that have existed for millennia. Rachel folded the message and returned it to the cylinder. When she spoke again, her voice carried absolute conviction. We are not threatening anyone, Chancellor. We are simply stating a fact. Earth has survived ice ages that should have killed every living thing on our planet. We have overcome diseases that wiped out entire populations. We have pulled ourselves back from the edge of nuclear annihilation through sheer determination and will. Do you know what all of those challenges taught us? I have no interest in your primitive history, Droxen snapped. They taught us that survival requires strength. That peace without freedom is just another form of death. That sometimes the only way to avoid war is to make it clear you are willing and able to fight. Rachel looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. The Council has enjoyed 800 years of peace. That is admirable. But ask yourselves how many of those years were peaceful because everyone agreed, and how many were peaceful because everyone was afraid to disagree. The Ambassador Yorl of the Hexus Combine stood. You will doom your species with this arrogance. The Council's patience is not infinite. Neither is ours, Rachel replied. You demanded we surrender our weapons and accept permanent subjugation. You gave us 48 hours to comply. Well, we used those hours wisely. While you were planning how to divide our ships among yourselves, we were preparing for every possible outcome of this meeting. Including war, Droxen said flatly. Especially war. Rachel picked up the message cylinder. The full text of our response will be transmitted to every council member world within the hour. Your citizens will know that you tried to bully a young species into submission. They will know that we refused, and they will see how you respond to that refusal. You think public opinion matters? Droxen laughed bitterly. The council has weathered far worse than bad publicity. Maybe, Rachel said, but I noticed several species in this chamber shifting uncomfortably when you delivered your ultimatum. I saw beings who remember when they faced the same choice. Perhaps they will start asking why submission was the only option offered to them as well. She turned to leave, then paused and looked back at Droxen. Earth offers peace on one condition: mutual respect between equals. If you can accept that, we can build something better than what you have now. But if you insist on dominance, if you send your enforcement fleet to our home, then you will learn what humanity does to bullies. And what is that? Droxen asked. Rachel smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. We teach them better. Admiral Vorny stared at the tactical display with growing frustration. 300 ships from 17 different council species formed a loose sphere around his flagship, the Eternal Harmony. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of their civilization's technology. Each crew had trained for years on proper formation flying and communication protocols. Each captain believed completely in the Council's rightness and superiority. None of them had ever fired a weapon in anger. The human ambassador's declaration has been broadcast across all major channels, his aide reported. The young Vareth officer sounded shocked. Public response has been mixed. Some species are calling for immediate military action. Others are questioning whether we had the authority to make such demands. Vorny's dismissed the concern with a wave. Public opinion is irrelevant. The Council has voted and we will enforce their decision. Has Earth responded to our presence? General Hayes of Earth Defense Force sent a message 3 hours ago. She demands we withdraw from the solar system or face military action. Demands? Vorny's actually laughed. They are in no position to demand anything. Hold formation at the outer marker. Let them see our numbers. Let them understand the futility of resistance. Within a week, they will be begging to negotiate. The fleet had positioned itself near Neptune, far enough from Earth to avoid appearing immediately aggressive, but close enough to make the threat clear. Vorny's had chosen the location carefully, using every historical precedent of Council enforcement actions. The presence of superior force had always been enough. Species looked at the gathered might arrayed against them and made the logical choice. Sir, we are detecting multiple energy signatures from the inner system, the sensor officer reported. Classification identifies them as military vessels, approximately 100 ships, various classes. Only 100. Vorny's felt his confidence grow. They are outnumbered 3 to 1. Maintain position and prepare to broadcast surrender terms. Additional contacts, the sensor officer said, sounding uncertain. Make that 200 ships. They were hiding in the asteroid belt. Thermal signatures match destroyer and frigate classes. Vorny studied the updated tactical map. 200 ships still left the Council with overwhelming numerical superiority. The humans had deployed everything they had, and it still was not enough. Send a final warning, he ordered. Tell them they have 1 hour to power down their weapons and begin transfer of control to Council authority. After that hour, We will begin moving toward Earth, and any ship that interferes will be disabled." The message transmitted. Vornes waited for the response, expecting either immediate surrender or desperate pleading for more time. Instead, General Hayes appeared on the communication screen. She wore a simple military uniform with minimal decorations. Her face showed no fear, only cold calculation. "Admiral Vornes," she said, "I am giving you one final opportunity to withdraw peacefully. Your fleet is in violation of Earth's sovereign space. Leave now, or we will remove you by force." Vornes could not help himself. He laughed again, louder this time. "General, I have 300 ships under my command. You have 200. Simple mathematics says you cannot win. Save your people. Surrender with dignity." "Mathematics," Hayes smiled slightly. "Let me teach you some human mathematics, Admiral. You have 300 ships designed for patrol duty and show. We have 200 ships designed to kill. You have crews who have never seen real combat. We have crews descended from people who fought wars so terrible we nearly destroyed our own planet. You think numbers are all that matter. We know that violence of action beats numerical superiority every single time." "This is your last chance," Vornes warned. "Stand down or I will advance on Earth and force compliance." "Then I guess we will see which one of us is right about mathematics." Hayes cut the transmission. Vornes felt a moment of doubt, quickly suppressed. The humans were bluffing. They had to be. No rational species would choose combat against such overwhelming odds. "All ships advance toward the inner system. Combat speed, maintain formation. Weapons to standby mode. We will not fire unless fired upon." The fleet began to move. Massive engines pushed the Council ships forward in perfect synchronization. Vornes watched with satisfaction as his force approached the human vessels. The smaller Earth ships held position near Jupiter, not retreating but not advancing either. "Admiral, sensors are detecting multiple launches from the human formation," the sensor officer reported. "Tracking approximately 200 objects. They appear to be missiles, but the drive signatures are unusual." "Activate point defense systems," Vornes ordered calmly. "Missiles are a desperate tactic. Our shields will absorb anything that gets through our defensive fire." "Sir, the missiles are accelerating beyond normal parameters. Current velocity is 0.23 light speed and increasing." Vornes felt his first stab of genuine concern. "That is impossible. No missile drive can sustain those acceleration rates." "They are not using conventional drives," the tactical officer said, his voice rising. "They are kinetic kill vehicles. Mass drivers accelerated to relativistic speeds. Impact in 90 seconds. Evasive maneuvers. All ships break formation and scatter." Vornes watched the tactical display in horror as his carefully organized fleet dissolved into chaos. 300 ships tried to change course simultaneously, their bulk and design working against them. The human missiles struck with mathematical precision. Vornes saw energy shields flare and die, unable to stop solid matter moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The shields were designed to disperse energy attacks, not physical impacts carrying kinetic energy measured in megatons. The first ship to die was the Glorious Purpose, a Hexus cruiser that had been built 50 years ago and had never fired its weapons outside of training exercises. The kinetic kill vehicle punched through the shield like it was not there, struck the forward section, and released enough energy to vaporize everything forward of the engineering spaces. The rear half tumbled away, trailing atmosphere and debris. More impacts followed. Vornes counted 12 ships destroyed in the first salvo before his mind refused to process the casualties. Alarms screamed throughout the eternal harmony. His crew shouted reports and warnings. The tactical display showed his perfect formation scattered across millions of kilometers, with human ships now advancing at attack speed. "Return fire," Vornes screamed. "All ships engage the enemy." But his ships were designed for long-range energy weapons. They needed time to acquire targets, calculate firing solutions, coordinate attacks. The humans did not give them that time. They came in fast, weapons already firing, each ship moving independently but somehow functioning as a unified force. General quarters, shields to maximum, get me damage reports. The reports came in, and each one was worse than the last. Captain David Park gripped the command chair as the destroyer Valiant rolled through another evasive maneuver. Explosions bloomed in the darkness around them, bright flashes of dying ships marking the chaos of battle. His crew worked with mechanical precision, each person executing their role as if they had done it 1,000 times before. In a way, they had. Every simulation, every training exercise, every war game had prepared them for this exact moment. Target lock confirmed, Commander Lisa Rodriguez reported from the tactical station. Council frigate, bearing 270, range 600,000 kilometers. Fire, Park ordered. The Valiant shuddered as railguns released their payload. Tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to crack a small moon. Park watched the tactical display as the projectiles covered the distance in seconds. The enemy frigate attempted to evade, but it was too slow, too cumbersome. The impacts tore through its hull like tissue paper. Kill confirmed, Rodriguez said. That makes 7 for us. Status on the fleet, Park asked. EDF Hammer and EDF Phoenix have taken damage but remain combat effective. Defiance reports engine problems but weapons are still online. We have lost Thunder, Monsoon, and Liberty. Rodriguez paused, her voice tight. 3,000 casualties confirmed, more expected. 3,000 people dead. Park felt the weight of those numbers, but he could not afford to dwell on them. Not yet. Not while the battle still raged around them. Council forces are breaking formation, the sensor officer reported. Multiple ships attempting to retreat toward the outer system. Estimate 70 ships destroyed or disabled. Human forces are pursuing. Park pulled up a wider tactical view. The battle had become a running fight, with human ships harrying the Council fleet as it tried to regroup. Admiral Vornis's perfect formation had shattered in the first exchange. Now his ships fled in disorder, each captain making individual decisions about whether to fight or run. New contacts, the sensor officer announced. 6 Council battlecruisers forming a defensive screen. They are attempting to cover the retreat of damaged vessels. Can we crack them? Park asked Rodriguez. She ran quick calculations. Not easily. Battlecruisers have heavier shields and armor. We would need concentrated fire from multiple ships. Then we coordinate. Park opened the fleet command channel. All EDF vessels, this is Valiant. We have 6 enemy battlecruisers attempting to form a defensive line. Recommend pack tactics. Who can support? 3 destroyers responded immediately. Defiant, Resolute, and Victory formed up on Valiant's wing. 4 ships against 6 larger vessels. The mathematics said they should withdraw. The mathematics said they were outgunned. David Park had never trusted mathematics when lives were at stake. Execute attack pattern Delta, he ordered. Target the lead battlecruiser. All weapons, all ships, concentrate fire on a single shield facing. We punch through and move to the next target. The 4 destroyers accelerated toward the enemy line. Council ships opened fire with energy weapons, brilliant beams of coherent light that could boil armor and vaporize crew compartments. The human ships wove between the attacks, their smaller size and superior engines allowing for maneuvers the battle cruisers could not match. Range optimal, Rodriguez called, firing. Valiant unleashed everything. Railguns, missile pods, point defense lasers repurposed for offensive strikes. The other 3 destroyers did the same, creating a storm of metal and energy focused on a single point. The battlecruiser's shields flared brilliant white, struggling to dissipate the concentrated assault. Shield collapse in 3, 2, 1, Rodriguez counted. We are through. The tungsten rod struck bare hull. Armor designed to withstand energy weapons crumpled under kinetic impacts. Secondary explosions rippled along the battlecruiser's flank as internal systems overloaded. The massive ship listed to one side, venting atmosphere and debris. Target neutralized, Rodriguez reported, moving to secondary target. But the remaining 5 battlecruisers had learned from watching their companion die. They spread out, making concentrated fire more difficult. They coordinated their attacks, trying to box in the human destroyers and force them into kill zones. "We are taking fire," the damage control officer called. "Shields down to 60%. Hull breach on Deck 3, Section 7, sealing bulkheads." Park felt the ship shudder as an energy beam caught them. "Rodriguez, I need options." "Recommend we break off and regroup with the main fleet," she said. "We have accomplished our objective. The enemy retreat is underway." Park looked at the tactical display. She was right. The Council fleet was running. They had lost nearly a third of their forces and their morale was shattered. But those 5 battlecruisers could still do tremendous damage if allowed to retreat intact. They could regroup, reinforce, return with lessons learned. "Negative," Park said. "We finish this now. Helm, take us into the formation. Get us close enough that their weapons cannot track us effectively." "That is suicide," Rodriguez said bluntly. "That is victory," Park corrected. "Those battlecruisers represent some of the Council's most powerful ships. If we let them leave, they will be back. If we destroy them now, the Council will think twice before sending another fleet." He opened the channel to the other 3 destroyers. "This is valiant. I know what I am asking. I know the risk. But if we let them go, more of our people die later. Anyone who wants to break off, no judgment. But I am going in." There was a moment of silence. Then Defiant's captain responded. "We did not come here to do things halfway. Defiant is with you." "Victory confirms," another voice added. "Resolute on your wing," the 3rd captain said. "Let us show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The 4 destroyers dove into the enemy formation like sharks among whales. Energy beams flashed around them, some missing, some striking shields and armor. Park felt each impact like a physical blow. But they were inside the enemy's effective range now, too close for the massive battlecruisers to target properly. "Fire at will," Park ordered. "Everything we have." Valiant screamed through the darkness, weapons blazing. The Council chamber looked different now. Rachel noticed the changes immediately as she walked through the doors. Representatives sat quietly in their seats instead of lounging. Many avoided eye contact. The atmosphere felt heavy with something she had never sensed here before. Respect, grudging and uncomfortable but real. Chancellor Droxen looked like he had aged a century in the 3 days since the Battle of Neptune. His crystalline skin had lost its luster. When he spoke, his voice lacked its previous authority. "Ambassador Foster, the Council has requested this emergency session to discuss recent events." Rachel took her position at the central podium. She carried no prepared speech this time. After what had happened, words seemed almost unnecessary. The galaxy had watched the battle unfold in real time, transmitted across every news network and social media platform. 87 Council ships destroyed or so badly damaged they would never fly again. 14 human vessels lost, with 3,000 crew members dead. The mathematics of it hurt her heart. 3,000 families would never see their loved ones again. But the alternative would have been worse. The alternative would have been every human family living under someone else's rules forever. "The Council wishes to express its profound regret at the misunderstanding that led to recent hostilities," Droxen said carefully. He was reading from prepared notes. "We did not anticipate such a violent response to what we considered reasonable terms." Rachel let the silence stretch. Ambassador Kelly's floated nearby, their bioluminescence pulsing in what might have been approval. Several other delegates shifted in their seats, waiting to see how the human would respond. Reasonable, Rachel repeated. You demanded we surrender our weapons and accept permanent occupation. You gave us 48 hours to comply or face isolation from the galactic community. You sent 300 warships to enforce your will. Which part of that seemed reasonable to you? We were following established protocols, Yorl of the Hexus Combine interjected. Every species has accepted similar terms. It is how we maintain peace. You maintain submission, Rachel corrected. Not peace. Peace requires mutual consent. What you have built is an empire where you pretend everyone chose to join voluntarily, because the alternative was unthinkable. And what would you have us do? Droxen asked. Allow every species to arm themselves without restriction, return to the chaos of the old times when war was common. Rachel pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above the podium. Human cities, orbital stations, ships under construction in the yards above Mars, children playing in parks on Europa, all of it vibrant, alive, free. This is what we are willing to die for, she said. Not because we love war, not because we enjoy violence, but because we learned through hard experience that freedom has to be defended. You created your peace by making sure no one had the power to challenge you. We are offering you a different kind of peace. What kind? Kelly's asked. Their voice carried genuine curiosity. Peace between equals, where species maintain their sovereignty and right to self-defense, where disputes are settled through negotiation, not ultimatums, where young civilizations are welcomed as partners, not treated as problems to be managed. Rachel looked around the chamber. The Battle of Neptune proved something important, not that humans are superior warriors, but that your system only works when everyone is too afraid to say no. We said no, and your perfect order shattered. You want us to rebuild everything based on human principles, Droxen demanded. No, Rachel said firmly. I want you to rebuild based on the principle that every sentient species has the right to chart their own course. The Talryn should not have had to give up their weapons 300 years ago. The Hexus should not have needed council permission to explore their own star system. Every species in this chamber should have the freedom to make their own mistakes and learn their own lessons. Secretary General Liu's face appeared on a communication screen. He had requested to address the council directly, and they had agreed, probably hoping he would offer compromise. Members of the Galactic Council, Liu said, Earth does not seek your destruction or dissolution. We seek recognition as equals. We are prepared to join the galactic community on terms that respect our sovereignty. We will contribute to peace, but we will not surrender our ability to defend ourselves. And if we refuse, Droxen asked, will you declare war on the entire council? No, Liu replied, but we will defend ourselves against any aggression, and we will offer aid to any species that wishes to renegotiate their own relationship with the council. We will not stand by while you bully others the way you tried to bully us. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for economic sanctions. A few, Rachel noticed, remained silent, their expressions thoughtful. Then Ambassador Kelly's rose to speak. The Talryn's voice cut through the chaos like a bell. I move that we recognize Earth's sovereignty and open negotiations for equitable membership in the Council. I further move that we review our current protocols for integrating new species to ensure we are building partnerships rather than enforcing submission. Seconded, said a voice from the Forian delegation, a species that had joined the Council only 50 years ago. Seconded, added another, this time from the Quella, who had resisted Council membership for decades before eventually yielding to economic pressure. Rachel watched as more voices joined the call for reform. Not a majority, not yet, but enough to show that the old order was cracking. The Battle of Neptune had done more than bloody the Council's nose. It had given other species permission to question, to doubt, to imagine different possibilities. Droxen looked around the chamber with growing desperation. His grip on absolute authority was slipping, and he knew it. Finally, he spoke in a defeated voice. The Council will recess to consider these proposals. Ambassador Foster, please prepare detailed terms for what Earth would consider acceptable membership conditions. Rachel nodded. We will be happy to negotiate as equals. She left the chamber with Kelly's floating beside her. The Tauren's lights pulsed in patterns that their species used to express joy. You have changed everything, Kelly said. The galaxy will never be the same. Good, Rachel replied. It needed changing. She looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the edges of their solar system. Somewhere, families mourned 3,000 dead heroes. Somewhere, General Hayes was planning defensive strategies in case the Council decided to attack again. But Rachel felt hope for the first time since arriving at the Council. Not hope for easy peace or quick resolution. Hope that humanity had proven something the galaxy had forgotten. That freedom was worth fighting for. That dignity could not be granted by others, only claimed and defended. That sometimes the only way to earn respect was to make it clear you would rather burn than kneel. The war was over. The real work was just beginning.